with a world already messed up by a deadly disease. Many people died in a short period of time, making the living be in fear. Two families trying to survive in a remote house in the middle of the forest, living the days by the rules, strictly to prevent the spread of deadly viruses. But instead, from inside that house, the actual threat will begin. At the beginning of the movie, the world is portrayed in its state of chaos due to the emergence of a very rapid infectious disease, the spread. This disease is transmitted by touch or air, getting a lot of people infected in a short time. The disease has destabilized major cities and claimed many victims in various parts of the world. To protect themselves from the outbreak, a couple named Paul and Sarah, with their son named Travis, as well as Sarah's father named, he chose to take refuge in a remote house. Belongs to those who are located far in the middle of the forest, away from the crowds and settlements. They live their lives with great vigilance, even always wear a mask and gloves, whenever doing activities outside the home, in order to avoid the possibility of contracting by the disease, even though it's in a place far from the settlement. Bad luck still comes to this family. He lived with them from the beginning, started showing symptoms of being infected by the disease. Initially just seemed to be a frequent daydream and focal abnormality, but over time his body weakened, characterized by vomiting blood and injuries that appeared all over his body. To prevent the virus from spreading further, Paul, Sarah, and Travis agreed to take the toughest decision of their life by killing Buddy and incinerated his body. They don't forget to keep protocol, strict for their own safety, by wearing a mask and gloves. During the burning process, Seminar, who could not watch his father be killed. Choose to shut yourself in the room while trying to accept that harsh reality. Night when Revis was fast asleep, he was suddenly awakened by a frantic-looking surrender. He said there was someone who were trying to get into the house. The barking of their dogs continued to be from the front door. As a sign of an intruder, Paul will be, and Travis immediately got ready, pick up weapons and wear masks and gloves, ready to face the threat. When the door was finally successfully opened by the intruder, Paul immediately ordered the man to get down and lower the weapon. Paul then asked sternly whether or not the man was infected with the virus. The man replied, himself healthy and not infected. Paul asked again, does anyone else come follow? With the man, but the man said he came alone. Even so, Paul doesn't believe it so easily. And just in case, Paul knocked the man out. Paul asks Sarah and Travis to watch over the man while he was out, going around to check if there are any other intruders around the house. After walking around for quite a while, Paul made sure that the guy actually came alone. For fear the man had actually been infected, but have not shown any symptoms. Paul took the man out of the house and beat him up on a tree quite far from the living area. Then,
I put it around his face. Against the tree.
to prevent the man from screaming for help, his mouth directly closed duct tape. They were planning on leaving it tied up in there for a day. If the man starts showing signs of being infected, Paul had to take action by killing and burning the man. After making sure the situation is safe, they were focused on fixing the broken door lock due to the attempted infiltration. Not only that, they also shut down all access in other things that intruders can easily get through, making sure there's no crack to get inside their house. After a day has passed, in the morning, Paul was fully equipped, mask and gloves, then went out to check the condition of the man in the tree. Apparently, after being examined, the man did not contract the virus. Paul then asked some important questions. He insisted that the man answer honestly. Because if caught lying, Paul was going to take decisive action by killing him. Paul promised to give her water. If the man was telling the truth. After opening the prophet covered the man's mouth. Paul asked the name and reason the man entered her house. The man started introducing himself as Will. He thought the house was empty because there was no sign of life and illumination at all. Purpose Will broke into Paul's house just to find food supplies and drinks to his family. He has a wife and a child waiting. His return, after the outbreak quickly spread, family Will decided to stay away from the settlement and find a safe haven in this vast forest. The distance between his family home and they're currently about 80 km away. Will have to leave his family because they've run out of drinking water supplies. If from the beginning he knew the house was inhabited, Will would never dare to infiltrate the house. I will try to convince Paul he does not hold a grudge for his treatment received. He understands all that Paul does to protect his family. Will makes an attractive offer where it has a huge supply of food, 2 goats and 6 chickens. Willing to exchange one with the amount of water that Paul has. After listening to Will's explanation, it sounds reasonable, and saw the man apparently not lying. Paul ended up giving her some drinking water. I realized that I was thirsty all day. Bound. But before making a final decision on the fate of Will, Paul decided to have a discussion first with surrender. It explains everything that gets of his conversation with Will, including information that will have a wife and children who are also struggling to survive about 80 kilometers from their current location. After knowing Will, his wife and child are not infected. Sarah proposed an IDE to bring them to this house. As the number of people increases, they can help each other, guard the house from the threat of future intruders. But they can work with each other in search of food supplies, clean water as well as firewood to survive in the midst of this difficult situation. After reaching an agreement, Paul immediately prepared to deliver Will, invite his family. He used his car as the only means of transportation that can still be used. Before leaving, Paul asked for Sarah to stay home and look after Travis. Make sure the house stays safe while he's gone.
Are we good? We're good.
Journey to family residence will not as smooth as they expected. On the way, they suddenly ambushed by 2 gunmen who released shots in the direction of their car. The 2 attackers were residents who also tried to survive, but choosing ways that harm others. Their goal is not just to stop the car, but also forcibly seizing them. After getting attacked, Paul and Will not stay still and began to work together against the 2 men. Short story only, Paul and Will can easily defeat them.
Get back! There's a bigger group nearby! Christ!
After making sure everything was safely under control, Paul and Will continue the journey to pick up the family. Will. A few hours later, Paul and Will finally returned home safely. Sarah and Travis, who had been waiting, was relieved to see Paul return safely. Paul came with his family, Will consisting of Will's wife named Kim and their young son named Andrew. Other than that, Will also brought 2 goats and 6 live chickens, which will be additional food supplies for their small group of. After welcoming the new family, helping them, arranging things, Paul invited everyone to sit together in the dining room. Paul felt the need. Explain some important rules that must be obeyed. Goodbye in the house, in order to maintain safety and health together. Paul explained, there is only one door that will be used as access in and out of the house. Every night, that door will always be closed and locked using manual lock system. The key can be opened by anyone, but strict rules enacted that no one is allowed to leave the house after dark, unless it's a real emergency situation. Then during the day, they would divide the group into 2 teams. Each team would search for food supplies, clean water and firewood for daily use. For the arms business, everyone stored in a special chest that only Paul could open. Anyone who wants to use it have to get permission from Paul. They would also set meal times together, twice in a day, as a disguise to keep food stocked, not run out quickly. Everyone was given cutlery. Private and band exchange to prevent possible spread of the virus is no less important. After taking a shower, everyone is required to empty the bucket used so as not to leave traces of water that may carry contamination. After all, the rules are clearly presented, Paul hopes. Will and Kim don't mind a number of those rules. Turned out well. Will and Kim accept all the rules that exist for their common good.
The door leading to the back room, we never go out at night. Nighttime we use buckets and
Day after day passed, and their lives in the middle of the forest walking more regularly. Each of the family members perform their duties with full responsibility. Some go find clean water in the morning. Some were exploring the forest in search of food, addition and collect firewood that will be used for cooking purposes or warm themselves up when night falls.
hard to charge batteries.
In between leisure time, they often spend time playing together, sharing jokes and laughter. Until one day, by the time they were looking for wood, family pet dog, Paul suddenly barked towards the forest, nonstop. Paul tried to calm her down, but all of a sudden, the rope was cut off and the dog ran into the woods. Travis, who loves his dog very much, running after him, without a care for the danger that may lurk within forest. But after chasing him far enough, the dog suddenly stopped barking. At the same time, Will and Paul arrive at the location, saw Travis, who was too far into the forest. Paul scolded him for such risky actions. Paul orders Travis to return home, while Paul and Will look for the whereabouts of the dog. After conducting a thorough search, and Paul couldn't find traces of that dog around the site. Of course, the disappearance of the dog makes Travis became very sad. Seeing the sadness on Travis's face, Paul came up to him and apologized for not being able to find a pet dog. Then, early promise, tomorrow morning he will be back looking for her.
Worry, okay? I think so. Gonna come on. Go get some rest.
His night when everyone's been sleeping, Travis woke up after hearing a voice. When traced, apparently the sound came from Andrew, who somehow managed to sleep on the living room floor. Travis immediately woke her up and brought her back into the room. After escorting Andrew to the room, Travis casually checked the front door. What a surprise! Travis saw the front door in open condition. Don't want to take the risk. Travis immediately woke everyone up. Thought there was an intruder coming. They all prepared by taking weapons. They also wore masks and gloves as a security protocol. When the front door was checked, what a surprise they are, watching the family pet dog, Paul, who was dying. Don't want to make Travis sad. Paul told him to go into the room. While the dog was, Paul and Will take care of it. Feared that the dog has been infected, Paul and Will burning the animal to stop the virus from spreading. After that, they gathered at the dining table to have a discussion back. Paul calmly began to ask Travis about the condition of the open front door. He wanted to know whether Travis opened it or not. Travis explained. The door had been in open condition Since the beginning of his arrival, Travis himself was confused. Who opened the door? Travis, who had seen Andrew sleeping outside, felt confident Andrew was the culprit who had opened the door. Kim initially didn't believe what Travis was saying. But when Andrew was asked directly, the boy replied no, remembering anything. Travis guessed Andrew might just be sleepwalking and accidentally opened the door of the house. Although there's no clear evidence, Paul felt that this situation could not be taken lightly. As a preventive measure, Paul decided to restrict interaction between family and family will for the next 1-2 days. Every family will be in a separate room to avoid the potential risk of contracting the virus. After all parties have agreed to Paul's decision, family will are welcome to bring a certain amount of food and water supply over the next few days, as well as the family will, who also took their respective sections for their supplies. In the room, Travis looked very anxious and worried. Although he was sure he was not the one who opened the door, Travis was worried about possible exposure to disease. He remembered he had touched the body. Andrew, without wearing gloves, when it helps, escorted her back to the room. See the restlessness in Travis. Paul tried to calm her down by allowing Travis to shower immediately and self-cleaning to reduce the risk of contracting.
And I held his hand and we're all gonna wash up.
But that night, when Travis was asleep, he suddenly woke up in really bad conditions. His body felt weak and he vomited blood. His resistance that injuries began to appear all over his body. In the midst of panic, Travis suddenly surprised to see a personal figure appear before him. And it turns out it was just a nightmare that Travis. After waking up from his nightmare, Travis quietly exited the room to the attic, with the intention of listening to the family talk Will in secret. From there, he heard a loud quarrel between Will and Kim. While not capturing all the details of their conversation, Travis heard clearly the plan Will and his family to leave the house. It made him suspicious, especially after the open door and death. Their dogs. Yeah, worry. Don't tell me Andrew was really infected. And family Will intend to leave secretly so as not to be suspected. Realized something was wrong. Travis immediately woke up his parents and tell them that most likely Andrew is already infected, so that the family will planning to leave secretly. Heard the news, Paul Den will be prepared by picking up weapons, masks, and gloves. If it is true that Andrew has been infected, they had to act quickly before the virus spreads more widely. Paul and after that, Sarah asked Travis to stay in the room while the two of them rushed to the family room. Will.
We don't know that, okay? We don't know that.
When knocking on the door of Will's room, initially Will refused to open the door and explained that Andrew had just had a nightmare. Paul said, just to check on their situation. But Will still refused to open the door, making the situation even more tense. Don't want to waste time, Paul warned Will. If the door is not opened immediately, he will break it down. As soon as the door opens, Will quickly point the weapon at Paul. Paul was surprised, wondering where we'll be able to get that weapon. When you should be, weapons can only be used with his permission. It turns out that from the beginning, Will had smuggled weapons without Paul's knowledge. Paul was forced into the room and was required to remove his mask and gloves. There, Will explained that he didn't want to make a fuss. All she wanted was to go be with her family. But before leaving, Will asked for some food and water supplies. No more than that. He said that Paul dared to do anything. His life could be threatened. In the meantime, Andrew being hugged tightly by Kim, not explained by Will. Paul could not confirm the condition of the child. Paul, who suspected the child was already infected, gave advice to Will to take immediate action, even if necessary, ended his life for their safety. But Will balked and ordered Kim to bring Andrew out of the house. In the midst of that tense atmosphere, Will kept pointing a gun at Paul. forcing Paul to fetch some of the food supply and the remaining drinks. Paul, who is in a cornered state, can only obey and follow all orders Will. As they're coming down the stairs with Will, who was still pointing guns at Paul, Sarah suddenly appeared with a weapon in her hand. Red asking for Will to lower his weapon so that the situation doesn't get worse, in order to avoid a larger conflict, then propose so that they both put their weapons down at the same time. On the count of 3, they also agreed. And right on the count of 3, when we'll begin, Paul reclaimed the weapon from Will's hands, make Will no longer able to provide resistance. In a helpless condition, Will asked Kim to take Andrew away from the place. But Kim's footsteps were stopped by Sarah that blocked him. Sarah ordered Kim to kneel and stay in place. Sarah checked their condition, and it turns out both Kim and Andrew both have been infected. Even Will himself, who had a physical collision with it, also seems to have been infected. Paul, who doesn't want to take a bigger risk, had to disable Will to make it easier to get him out of the house. But when I get outside, Will, who slowly come back to his sense, suddenly made a match. Even though his hands were tied, Will tried to attack. Paul was able to give a close match, took Paul's life. Luckily, there is a Sarah who immediately shot a shot at Will when it realized Paul was in danger. See Will lying lifeless. Kim frantically carried Andrew and tried to escape into the forest. But the blur, peeped by Paul, who immediately shot his shot about Andrew's body, witnessed the death of his son. Kim couldn't help crying. Paul, who didn't show the slightest pity, terminated everything with one last shot that makes Kim was also killed.
You killed my baby! Kill me!
After Tragedia took the life of the family Will, Travis looked so pale and weak. It didn't take long to realize that Travis has contracted the same disease due to having touched Andrew's body before, lying sick in his bed. Travis is getting attention from Sarah and Paul, who tried to comfort her at the last moment. Without using health protocols that tight, they all dissolve in sadness, realized that Travis's life would not last. Final scene showing Paul and Sarah, who have also been infected, sitting in the dining room, lamenting their fate. And the story's finished. Okay, maybe so first video this time. If there is a mistake, apologize. Okay, see you next video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.